Hello, lovely podcast people. Welcome back to Not Another Nutrition Podcast. I wanted to do this episode 100 really for avid listeners. It's, I guess, a little bit of a where have I been in very brief format, and a bit of what to expect moving forward. And just to kind of grace your ears, I kind of wanted to do this as episode 100. I didn't want episode 100 to be like, oh, how do artificial sweeteners affect metabolic rate? Or something ridiculous and boring. And so really just to kind of say, I've missed doing these podcasts. I've missed your feedback and interacting with you guys around the podcast. I really, really, really have appreciated the many, many messages that I've received kind of saying, when are you coming back? Hope everything's okay, all that kind of jazz. Yeah, I have missed it, and I kind of, in a weird way, feel like I owe it to people to be like, this is what's been going on. But, there is sometimes a little bit of too much information. But it was just became a very stressful period of life towards the end of 2022. And lots of you who follow my social media kind of have been aware of stuff surrounding my children and those kind of things going on, and I think can kind of piece things together in those situations. And completely outside of that, so it's just kind of crazy, the world we live in, what people can get away with. When people go, oh, I've had a hard year, and we all feel things in a different way, and everyone's feelings matter and that kind of thing. But sometimes I feel like I can get annoyed when you're like, hey, it's been pretty tough. And people are like, oh yeah, my training's not been great recently, and I've not been hitting my protein macros, and things are pretty tough for me too, bro. And I'm like, yeah, cool. When was the last time someone called the police and said you're a pedophile? We're not the same, bro. Yeah, kind of crazy. Crazies be crazy. And, finding stuff stuff like that, it weighs on your mind in terms of, my goodness, how are some people not in jail for, false accusations of that level are pretty damn illegal. Especially when it's just like completely made up with the sole intent of damaging someone and manipulating an already flawed system. So it was pretty freaking horrific. But I woke up today, put on my story, feeling super grateful for the difference in the landscape of my life, waking up knowing my babies are safe and healthy and I have purpose, and the kind of conflict has been managed through different avenues. But yeah, so I just have headspace waking up each day thinking I have this sign, like a quote in a picture frame, and I can't even remember. Is it? It's one of the explorers. Probably in this day and age, he did some bad stuff, so we won't even mention his name. But it's, what good shall I do this day? And I can really focus on that now a bit more, and all of the things, the kind of I got a for those of you on watching platforms, I'm using a new phone, and I don't know it. Am I coming across as super, super clear? But I have this kind of quote notes app. You have greatness within you and a responsibility to manifest that greatness. Got loads of cool ones. And another one I put on my story today was just, if it wasn't for the dark, we wouldn't be able to see the stars. Stuff like that. As cheesy as it sounds, if you really just consider those things, and for me, I said to one of my staff members today, if you don't take note and take stock of where you've been, you can easily go on with life going, God, I've got so much to do. Oh, I'm so busy. I've missed so much work. I've been underachieving, everything, rather than just like, oh my God, I'm so happy and blessed to like be waking up and being able to choose my own destiny again. And, being able to help others and those kind of things. So those of you who are like fans of the podcast and me, that's just like a teeny tiny 20% of what's gone on. That's a fairly specific number. But I'm back, and I'm really, really pleased to be back. And what I have done, or what we have done, is gone through all the listener questions from like 2022 and 2021 and put together just loads of stuff that you guys seem to want help with and are confused about. And I've also got some ideas around doing some guest, because you guys are such avid listeners, the podcast does really well. It kind of ranks highly. And people I always get requests, oh, do you want me on your podcast? Or, I work for so-and-so, do you want them on your podcast? And often they're just they're kind of charlatans wanting to sell some sort of product or message or whatever, and not very evidence-based. But there are certain people in the world who I think could be really, really useful. Just stuff that in my life, like for instance, I follow certain educators in different areas. Finance is one. And, I think the financial health of the world, there's lots to be said. Lots of people talk about, this stuff should be taught in schools instead of whatever. And I agree with that. And I think it can be quite life-giving if you are able to take the time and effort to understand how to create some level, not necessarily, financial freedom's a bit of a buzzword, but just putting yourself in a healthy financial state. And some of it requires sacrifice, some of it requires good decision making, some of it requires some fancy techniques that you can use. So wanting to get someone who's like a real expert in that. And then there's another one that I thought about, some stuff around parenting. I love talking about parenting myself, but getting some real, there was some good stuff I saw around that. Like baby sign language was a cool one that I thought would be really good. Just because I know when I've talked about certain ways I parent, people are like, oh my goodness, I see this differently now. And getting the people that I learn from, because I'm not an expert in those things, I'm just giving you, I almost want to do that thing of just like expose you to something, and then if that's something that's relevant to your life, you can go away and explore more and follow those people. And stuff about jealousy, that's a good one. Just in life, I've just suddenly thought on the spot, stuff about just kind of like losing your temper and being able to control your emotions more. And I've never followed anyone done anything with that, but maybe I can go and find an expert in those areas. And just, as a parent, that's something I've done, but just in my general life of just not being so annoyed by people and getting angry. I've changed a lot in that fashion. Yeah, jealousy is a good one. Just some cool stuff. Anyway, just some thoughts if you want to let me know about any of those kind of things. Remember, you can go on the website if you have any specific things, or reach out to me and make suggestions for cool stuff like that. I want it to be, rather than just like, oh, this is a cool person to talk to, someone who's got like really active messages that you can apply to your life to make them better, is what I would really love to do. Kind of in line with like some of my wisdom episodes. Anyway, yeah, so... But obviously, 90% of the podcasts that I've got planned are going to be around nutrition and some of the key areas that you guys have asked questions. We've got a whole long list. So, yeah, expect the podcast to be a regular thing again. If you start enjoying it again and you haven't done so yet, the reviews and those kind of things, they're lovely for me to read, but also it's just like reaching a greater audience is something that is fulfilling for me to do in terms of how it can help people. So that's my small request upon returning to your ears or screens. Also, I just wanted to add into this podcast, as I imagine those of you who have got to this point in this particular podcast are more of the avid type listeners. And yeah, some of, I guess, the guest appearances that I want to have on is just stuff that I'm interested in, but it doesn't really align with my mostly nutrition content. But I do like reading about that stuff, following that stuff, but I'm going to start another Instagram account, and I mentioned this on my Instagram. It's more just kind of like a stuff outside of nutrition. Martin McDonald, my personal social media accounts have always been very much nutrition based. And then other elements of me have crept into them. People are like, I follow you for nutrition, came for the nutrition, stayed for the humor and the comedy and the triceps and whatever. But I want to post more of just kind of my other interests. And someone said, is this going to be your OnlyFans account? No, it's not going to be. However, that has been my inspiration for the Instagram handle. So anyway, if you want to follow that, I'm like 99% decided I'm going to do it now. It will be, adult humor, memes, some stuff that I'm just interested in. But if you're interested in that, please don't expect it to be professional or particularly educational. It will be, some of the deeper stuff, my wisdom quotes, but just anything that takes my interest. Some of the stuff that I have discussed on this podcast, just little elements of it will be there. So the Instagram handle that I'm not going to post anywhere yet, so this is kind of a test of who's an avid listener, will be no link in bio. It's free. All one word. If you want to give it a request, I'll start accepting people. I'm going to make it a private account. Anyway, I will be back with a cool episode for you. I know this is episode 100. The episode before this that I've probably released the same week. A big topic. You may have gone and listened to that, about 16% of protein. I'm kind of doing this in the reverse order because I annoyingly stopped at episode 98. That's when the wheels fell off. But yes, I hope you enjoyed that one, and I will see you next episode for something interesting. Until next time, much love.